A $100 loss can feel heavier than 12 $10 wins. Your phone glows red at 9:31 a.m. Minus 100 becomes minus 250. Then the line you promised not to cross breaks. Now you're watching minus 900 with cold coffee in your hand. Nothing about you changed in those 30 seconds. Your brain just hates losses more than it enjoys gains. What's interesting, that raises a dangerous question. It's 2:14 in the morning. You hear a tiny drip from the ceiling. Not a crash, not a flood. Just drip. You grab a bucket, you put it underneath, you tell yourself you'll deal with it tomorrow. By breakfast, the bucket is half full. The stain has spread. Now the fix is bigger, messier, and more expensive than it was 6 hours ago. That is exactly how a bad trade feels. When the loss is small, your brain treats closing it like admitting defeat. It stings right now, so you delay the pain. You tell yourself it's only down a little, it can come back, you just need one bounce. But while you're avoiding a small emotional hit, the actual damage keeps growing in the background. Psychologists call this loss aversion. The way losses hurt more than equal gains feel good. You don't need a finance degree to feel it. You already know it from everyday life. You keep the shirt you never wear because returning it feels annoying. You keep paying for a gym membership you stopped using because canceling feels like giving up. You leave the bucket under the leak because calling the landlord feels like a hassle. Same pattern. Small pain now feels worse than bigger pain later. And your brain adds a nasty little lie. It says, if I close this now, the loss becomes real. But the loss is already real. The screen is just showing it to you. Waiting does not protect you. Waiting only gives the leak more time. Here's why it works. One red trade can erase the good feeling from a bunch of green ones. 12 small wins feel nice. One ugly loser feels personal. It feels unfair. So you protect your ego instead of your account. The strange part? The answer is not more courage in the moment. By the time the ceiling is dripping, emotion is already in the room. So here's the real question. How do you make the hard call before the water starts spreading? Your chart is slipping at 9:31 a.m. The red candles keep tapping a line you drew last night. You told yourself, if price gets there, I'm out. Now it's there. And your brain starts bargaining. Give it one more minute. It always bounces here. I don't want to lock in the loss. That's why the decision has to happen before the trade starts. Not during the drop, before it. You pick the line first. Then you write down what happens if price reaches it. Traders call that a stop loss, a preset price where you automatically get out of a losing trade. It's not there because you're weak. It's there because in the heat of the moment, your mind will try to protect your feelings instead of your money. Same with how much room you give the trade. If your exit line is $10 away and your account can only handle a $400 hit, that already tells you how big the trade can be. Traders call that position sizing, how much money you put into any single trade. Notice the order. Exit first, size second, entry last. Most beginners do the reverse. They get excited, enter fast, then invent the escape plan while the loss is growing. That's loss aversion in action, when the fear of being wrong drives your choices. The pain of being wrong feels so sharp that you keep moving the line just to avoid admitting it. But one question decides whether you stay small or spiral. When that line gets hit, do you actually take the loss, or do you freeze? That's where poker, a card game built around betting and risk, has a brutally clear answer. Still with me? Here's the part that breaks most traders. The first $400 loss is usually not the killer. The frozen minute after it is. Split the screen in half. On the left, your trade hits the line you picked before the market opened. You tap out. Red number. Annoying, yes, but contained. You still know who you are. On the right, the same line gets hit at 9:31 a.m. Your phone buzzes, your stomach drops, and then the bargaining starts. Maybe it bounces. Maybe the big players are just shaking people out. Maybe you give it 5 more minutes. That second path turns small damage into account damage. Poker players know this feeling cold. Say you're holding a weak hand. The other player bets big. Every sign says get out. But quitting feels like admitting you were wrong for the last 10 minutes. So you keep putting chips in. Poker has a blunt word for the smart exit. They call it a fold, quitting the hand to protect your chips from a bad spot. Notice what makes folding hard. It is not math first. It is ego first. The money matters, sure, but the real sting is emotional. You do not want to lock in the loss. So you choose a worse pain later. The same thing happens on a chart. A small planned loss feels personal. A bigger unplanned loss feels accidental, like bad luck. So your brain weirdly prefers the second one, even though it hurts more. Left side, you take the hit and move on. Right side, you freeze and start negotiating with the screen. One choice protects your capital, your trading or investing money. The other increases your exposure, how much of your account is at risk on a trade, while your original reason for the trade is already broken. Here's the trap most beginners miss. The longer you wait, the more hope starts masquerading as conviction. how strongly you believe your trade reasoning is right. So the real difference is not bravery, it is whether you obey the exit when your body is screaming not to. And once you see that, the question gets brutal. What does this look like when 12 nice green wins meet one trade you refuse to cut? Monday, 9:31 a.m. Your phone buzzes. You glance down between sips of coffee. One open trade is red. Nothing dramatic yet. You were up on the week. Your trade journal has 12 neat green lines in it. Plus $80, plus $65, plus $110. Small wins, boring wins, the kind that feel almost too small to celebrate. Then, this one slips past the line where you told yourself you'd get out. That line mattered yesterday. It felt smart last night. You even wrote it on a sticky note. If the trade hits minus $400, you're done. No debate. Now, it actually touches minus $400. And suddenly your brain changes the story. You don't say, the plan failed. You say, it's probably just noise. You don't say, get out. You say, give it a minute. This is loss aversion. So you freeze. At 9:34, it's minus $520. At 9:41, minus $760. You stare harder, like focus can reverse price. The 12 wins in your notebook start fading in your head. They no longer feel real. One red number is now louder than 12 green ones. This is why one bad trade can erase weeks of decent behavior, not just on the screen, in your mind. 12 careful decisions built almost no emotional cushion, but one ugly loss feels personal. It feels unfair. It feels like the market is calling you stupid. So you start bargaining. You tell yourself the thesis, your specific reason for taking the trade, is still intact. You tell yourself you have conviction. You tell yourself getting out now would make the loss real. But here's the trap. The loss is already real. The only question is its size. By 10:07, you're down $1,100. Now you are not managing a trade. You are managing pain. And pain makes people do strange math. Minus $400 felt unacceptable, so you accepted minus $1,100 instead. That sounds crazy from the outside. From the inside, it feels weirdly reasonable. Because closing the trade means admitting you were wrong right now. Holding it open lets you rent a little more hope. Hope feels cheaper than pain in the moment. Later, you get the bill. At 11:18, the loss hits $2,200. Now look back at those 12 winners. Maybe they added up to $1,400 total. One trade just gave all of it back, and then some. Not because your system was terrible. Not because every decision was bad. Because you broke one rule once, at the exact moment it felt hardest to follow. What's interesting, this is the part beginners miss. Big account damage usually doesn't come from being wrong a lot. It comes from refusing to stay small when you're wrong once. So the real skill is not prediction. It's answering 3 uncomfortable questions before the trade opens. So what are those 3 questions? Exactly. Your stomach drops. The red number is flashing. You tell yourself it's only down a little. Give it room. That's the exact moment loss aversion takes over. You protect your feelings now, but you risk a much bigger hit later. So give yourself a rule before that moment arrives. Call it the when to fold test. Quick aside, if this helps, subscribe for more twice a week. It has 3 questions. First, where am I out if this goes wrong? Traders call that a stop loss. Not a vague line, a real number. Second, how much am I risking if that exit gets hit? That's position sizing. If the answer makes your chest tighten, it's too big. Third, if I held no position, a trade you currently own, would I still take this right now for the same reason? That reason is your thesis, your specific reason for taking the trade. If your only reason is it has to come back, that's not a thesis. That's hope wearing a fake mustache. Here's the rule. If you can't answer all 3 in 10 seconds, you pass. And if the trade is already open and one answer falls apart, you fold, quitting the hand to protect your chips from a bad spot. That sounds simple, but there's one sneaky way your brain still tries to cheat this test. Write it down first. Do that on your next trade. Before you enter, buy in, force yourself to answer the 3 questions on paper or in your notes app. If one answer gets fuzzy later, you get out. That's how you train the rule, instead of arguing with the screen. If this kind of breakdown helps, subscribe. Next time, I'll show you why small winners still feel strangely unsatisfying.